thank you so much for coming out at such short notice. 3 days ago, I was having a glass of wine with a friend, outraged about the fact that our democracy is being corrupted by the Liberal Party in this state selling out.
The Liberal Party is attempting to steal this election. By steal, I mean inject enormous sums of money, swamp the other parties, allied to one particular industry. That is not democracy. In a democracy where you have a free and fair election, you have some equality between the parties when it comes to expenditure. You don't tie yourself completely to one particular industry, which is what has happened here. Irrespective of whether it's gambling, mining, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. You are not elected to office and should never be elected to office on the back of being bankrolled by one particular interest group. The second point I'd make is this. What does this say about our democracy when, to the great credit of the Labor Party, they join the Greens in opposing poker machines to find themselves on the back of a thuggish, extremist, lying, dishonest campaign? What needs to happen is you need to say no. All Tasmanians need to say no to this. They should ignore the advertising. They should ignore the lies of the gambling industry. They should ignore the lies of people in bottle shops wearing T-shirts saying vote Liberal. They should ignore the lies of Will Hodgman, of David Foster and others who've been perpetuating the myth about job losses. And they should vote for democracy tomorrow, which means you do not vote for a Liberal Party candidate. Not one of them, irrespective of how good they might be. Thank you.
Our fishery was basically shut down by inaction on the government and by the actions of fish farms. None of the major parties, none of their elected representatives have been to see the old fishermen that have been affected by what's happened. They're displaying all the behaviour of someone that is beholden to vested interests, and in a democracy we're being left behind. It's disgraceful. There should be no funding whatsoever. It should be a level playing field, and then we get what we need, and that is untainted, true democratic process with everyone at the table, not just one group.
Tasmanians are good and decent people, and we see the harm in our suburbs, in Hobart, in Glenorchy, created by these machines. It is real and it is damaging, but this is our place. This is our place. It is your democracy, and it's time for change. So people have said to me, but what about free choice with the pokies? Well, I say I'm happy to concede a little personal freedom if it helps my neighbour. And people say jobs are at risk. Well, I say workers will be protected. Our policy is good. People say businesses will lose out. I say impacts can be managed, and people of integrity are calling for sensible reform.
What we've got here is a parasitic industry trying to buy government for the Liberals. And the Liberals, I've spent 4 years in that place behind us there, listening to them lie by reflex. It's in their DNA to be secretive and dishonest and to hold the people in contempt. It is in their DNA to back in big business every step of the way. So Tasmanians will go to the ballot box tomorrow not knowing, because Will Hodgman has made the choice not to tell them how many millions of dollars have come in from whom to the Liberal Party in an attempt to buy this election. But here's a fact. Every single Liberal MP and candidate who has their face on one of those venues, who is taking money from this corrupted and parasitic industry, has been bought and paid for by the gambling industry, and they should hang their heads in shame. What they've done is put the well-being of the people of Tasmania last. And what they've done is put the interests of the gambling industry, and particularly the federal group, first. Because this is what we know. If the gambling industry successfully buys this election for the Liberals, $250 million in a windfall will go to the venues, and of that, $75 million to Federal Group, a company that sucked the life out of our communities for decades. So we have to stand up tomorrow and say we will not cop this. We will not let big business not only buy our democracy, but deliver into government a party that we find out today wants to weaken our gun laws, wants to allow more semi-automatic rifles into our community, wants to allow the use of silencers. And do you know, unless a concerned firearm owner had got in touch with the Greens, no one would know about this because it wasn't on the Liberal Party's website. They made no public announcement. They just released it quietly to the shooting lobby. Unbelievable dishonesty. So tomorrow, for a safer Tasmania in our communities, a Tasmania where we finally can shuck off this parasitic industry, for a safer Tasmania where we're not afraid to send our kids to school because there are more semi-automatic rifles with silencers in our community, vote for the Greens, because we are the honest brokers here. We have never let you down and we never will. For the love of Tasmania and our communities, vote Green.
Isn't it an appalling state of affairs that the day before the election you have to get together at a rally in front of the Parliament and ask for a fair election? And that's what's missing in Tasmania at the moment, is a fair election. It is now a lopsided event. And it seems that the Liberals released their policy to the shooters groups in early February, and I expect they were planning to release it in mid-February until the Florida shootings happened, and then they thought, we'll just go quiet. We'll hope nobody notices and nothing happens. But it's out there. And now we know that the Liberal Party, at the behest of the shooting groups, is wanting to weaken Tasmania's gun laws. I have watched the National Rifle Association get enormous funding from the firearms industry and then put that into election campaigns to ensure Republicans are elected and to ensure they get the president that they want. And the National Rifle Association backs a product that is not a safe product, it's not a satisfactory product, and it comes with a large dose of human misery, especially in America where there's some 30,000 gun deaths each year. When Federal started advertising and promoting the Liberal Party, it dawned on me that we're seeing a grave and frightening parallel between the American NRA in terms of firearms and Federal's promotion of poker machines in Tasmania. Poker machines and firearms, they make a lot of money. There's huge amounts of money. And what we're seeing now is the promoter and the owner, Federal, playing the election just like the NRA has done for a long time in the United States. In Tasmania, we see massive consequences from poker machines. You only have to practice in the criminal law to be in the Supreme Court or the Magistrates Court to hear on a daily basis somebody get up and say, my client committed the crime because they put all their money into gambling and they had to fund it. The misery is ongoing in so many different aspects of Tasmania's life. So what's changing in America is that the young people, the people at the grassroots level, have said enough is enough. And we're going to have to say that to the Liberal Party and the Labor Party in Tasmania and to Federal, that we don't want the Tasmanian election to be bought and manipulated. We want a fair election. We want poker machines to be limited in a reasonable way, and we want to make sure, just like with firearms, that we put the health and well-being of the community first, not the health and well-being of Federal, not the health and well-being of the Liberal Party. Thank you.